Happy Tuesday. Welcome to live stream number 29. Getting up there, folks. Today is July 18th, 2007. It is noon, and if you're watching this, you're watching the recording. Thank you for tuning in on this live stream. Today's topic is why not align command versus joints. And I'm just going to have a couple of people trickling in here into the live stream. So let me just start out by saying thank you so much for joining today's live stream. These live streams are about 15 to 30 minutes long, kind of like, a little bit loose, not trying to prepare too much for them, but just kind of like trying to add a little bit more value to you folks out there. If there's anything you would like to see, you are absolutely more than welcome to send me an email with any future topics, just like the one we're going to talk about today. This one today comes from John. Down in the description area of this video, you will find my email address, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. Send me an email if there's anything you'd like to see. You can see we already got a bunch of people in here. We got Seth, good to see you, buddy. We got Richard. We got thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time out of your busy day. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the align command versus using joints. So John had watched the video that I did on, it's called How to Get a Handle on Assemblies and Joints. And I actually also put that link down in the description area. So if you have not seen that video, go ahead and watch that one. Talking about how joints works within Fusion 360. Especially helpful if you're coming from another system, because Fusion does it a little bit different, and I actually like the way Fusion does it, but I'm going to probably talk a little bit about that. All right, we got Belgium, we got Kansas City. What more do you want? The places around the world. Tim is in here. Cool. Thank you, guys. All right, let's jump into this and talk a little bit about the align command and how this all works. So like I said, thanks to John for sending me an email asking this question. Why are you not using the align command versus using joints? And I don't know if I have a super good answer, but some of you guys maybe have never seen the align command. So let's just dive into it and take a look at it. Inside of Fusion, that's where we like to be. All right, so what I have here is just something I modeled up. Nothing, again, you don't have to applaud me for my modeling skills in here. What we have is we have two bodies. There's one body over here, and there's one body over here. And just to kind of like just show you, if this kind of like, we talked a little bit yesterday about link components and things like that. And for some people, this whole thing about having components versus bodies, I'm not blaming anybody if it's a little bit confusing. What I did was I sketched up this box. Now, on purpose, just to throw it off a little bit, I kind of like sketched it off the origin a little bit. So you will actually see, if I go in and open up the sketch, you will actually see that I edit sketch. There's the sketch. I actually did not fully define it. There should actually have been a dimension to come over here. Then I kind of like cut away part of it, and I did that with another sketch. With another sketch. So I just sketched these lines here, and I made a cut, and then I just made another cut just to cut this off here. So if you look at that, I kind of like just drew a triangle right on that face. I started a new sketch on that face and cut that off. Then I drew up another block right over here. Whoops. What did I just do? This is the beautiful thing about being, there we go. So I drew up another block, and yes, this one is underdefined too. I did not give that any dimensions either to the center. And that one just got a cut through right there, and then I put a chamfer on it. Boom. That's all this is. So I just wanted to take these minutes just to show you what we got on the screen. So we're inside of a body environment. Now, let's say that we actually, for some reason, had decided that these two bodies should be somewhat aligned somehow. Now, some of you guys might say, well, why the heck would you not just have done it all like where it was supposed to be? And yeah, I could ask the same question. Then you wouldn't need the align command, I guess. No, but it would actually be kind of legit, I guess, in a way that you had two different components that had to be aligned up, two different segments of a part, and you kind of like drew one segment and another segment. Your brain likes them kind of like being separate. Well, we could go in and try to use a joint for this. So if we go in and we click joint, you will actually see that we get a warning that joints don't work with bodies, right? Joints only works with components. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday, about what the difference was between bodies and components. Well, if we can't use joints, guess what? Over here in the modify drop down, there is a align function right over here. Now, if I click on the align function, you will see over in the menu that one actually works for both bodies and components. So you could say one thumbs up for the align command, because the joint couldn't do that, right? So maybe the align command is winning a little bit here. So let's select bodies and click on that, and it works the same way kind of as joints does, and you will see joints in a second. That I kind of like get this. I call it, well, in joints I call it a coin or Pac-Man because it's round. Now it's more like a rectangle. But if I go in here and I snap onto this section here and then go over and select this section over here, you will see how it moved that body over there. And you actually have options in here where you can flip it. So you can flip direction on that kind of joint, and you can also rotate. So here I'm actually capable of laying those two bodies right in kind of like how they fit together right here. I guess if I do a section analysis maybe, we can see that the two bodies kind of are now sitting together. And that was achieved with the align command right here. Now, one thing, while I'm in here, I just kind of have to show you this. So this is two bodies right now. I was talking about the whole idea that you maybe want to make one body in one area where you're concentrating all the details with that, and then another body in another area, and then you combine them. You actually do have a combine tool in here where I could, right under the modify, you can combine two components. So if I select the two components and I have it on join, and I hit OK, this actually just became one component. This is actually pretty cool if you think about it. I probably want to show the combine tool in another live stream, because the combine tool is actually pretty cool. Because if you look at this part right now, and you said, what if I told you that I wanted you to model up this part from scratch? This cutout here of these angles could be rather interesting sketching, right? So just so you know that the combine tool is definitely in there and could be used. But let me just delete it again because I want to show something. Now, right now, if I move back to where they originally were, because we have two bodies in here, there is no movement. I can't drag any components. We can do that. We can actually do that when it is an assembly, right? So if I move the combine over here, the align tool over here again, look how I can actually, I can't drag it. So the align tool works a little bit like, kind of like as a glue point, and pretty good for a multi-body kind of environment. Now, since the align works both in bodies, so I guess to John's question, well, if you're working with multi-bodies and not components, align is really the only way, unless you're using the move tool, what is another thing we're going to talk about. But the align tool will definitely be a perfect substitute. There's a big truck just pulled by the window. I thought it was an airplane for a second. And we're pretty far away from from the airport. That was why I kind of maybe sounded a little nervous. No, but so if you're working in a multi-body environment, then I would say the align tool could be a pretty good substitute for somewhat of a joint command. But let's then make this into an assembly. Why not? And we can actually do that fairly easy. So I feel like that this kind of like follows pretty well with yesterday's live stream. So if you didn't watch yesterday's live stream, check this out. But look this, we can actually make this into a an assembly pretty quickly, because we can go to the component here, right? And we can say create component from body. So now suddenly that first body became a component. And I can do the second thing to the second body. And now we just turned the two bodies in to components. So what does that do? Well, it does this. The align function that we had before really at this point hasn't done much for us. So actually, let me go back again. Let me delete those two. See, you can always delete things out of this parametric. See how we now have our bodies again. I just literally select on a command and delete it. So let's move our components back to where they originally was when I started this, and let's create them into components from here. So now this is an assembly and not a body-to-body area. And that means that now our components are literally floating around in space. So whenever you are working with assemblies, one rule is there should always be one component that gets nailed into space, that is locked down. That is kind of like the one that is screwed down to the floor, to the wall, or whatever you kind of like want to think about it. So the way you do that is that I'm going to select one of these components. I want to select this component here, this one over here. And I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to say that I want to ground it. Now, as soon as I click ground, we get a little thumbstick in here. That means this component is not moving anymore, but this one is here. Okay, so now with this one moving around here, let's go in and try the align command again. So now if we go to the modify, you will see the align. And this time, of course, I'm going to switch it from bodies to components. Now the menu looks the same. And when I go over here, you will see that we still get the rectangle versus the round coin that you will see in a second when we do the join. And I'm going to select that same whoops. Because when you're talking at the same time as you are supposed to work. So I'm going to select right here on that face, and let's select the same face right here. And I have the same options as I had before. I can flip it, and I can rotate around. Oh, it's supposed to be components, right? You guys can yell at me when I'm messing up here. So components here to components here, flip it, rotate it around. And I'm going to hit OK to that. Now, when I hit OK to that, you will actually see that the align function is not captured down in the overall active components. If we go into each component, you will see that it's not captured in here either. So the align command right now is not showing. However, there is a tool up here that appears called capture position. Now, if I don't choose that, I can move this over, and that is still showing up here, but so I can move it around, and if I say capture position, that position is now attached and it hasn't found the align command. So let me just delete that position back to where we were again, and let me show you how, if you got to use the align, you want to use it. So you can go over here and hit align. We have it components. Select this face. I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to flip it and rotate it twice so it's in place. Now I could also clicking up here and say capture position versus clicking here is the same thing. So if I check capture position, you will see down the tree that I'm going to get that capture position. So what have we done? We don't have any indication that we have used the align command, but we do have a capture position, what means the component will still move around in space, but when I let go, I can say revert back to position. So now the align command is reverting back. This here is not really a wrong way to put two components together, in my opinion, using the align command. The only thing is that it's not really kind of captured, and that's maybe so where the joints comes in. So let's talk a little bit about joints, because the joint command is sitting right up here. So let's delete our aligned with a capture position in here, and let's do a joint instead. Now if I select joint and I go in here, now you'll see I get the round, and again the video is down in the description area for that whole video series on joints. But now I get that coin. I select here, and you always select the component that's going to move, not the component that is stationary. Select here, and it's now going to fly over here. Now the joint command gives us some other options, because right now it's set to rigid, but you will actually see that there's some different options inside of the joint command. Like the align command just brought us over there. The joint actually has some kind of intelligence to it. If I leave this as rigid, hit OK, I cannot drag that component. It is literally like it is screwed or glued into place. And I do also get a joint down here, and I actually also get a joint folder over here in the tree. Now, other things you can do with the joint, if we hit the drop down, is there's a revolute. Well, that might not make much sense right here, but you'll see that what it does is it revolves around that joint we created, that coin we created right there. You can actually control what axis it's going to do that over. So that's kind of handy if you have something that needs to be moving. Now, slide could be useful for this one, right? Like if you're thinking about these components going together, one component might need to slide, and that's what the joint will let us do. Now that component could move up and down. So the way I like to look at it is that the align command really just does what it's supposed to do. And I think I would prefer to use it really only when you have multi-bodies, because in an assembly environment, when you have different assemblies, you normally want the different components to be put together in a certain kind of way, either as a rigid so it cannot move, because remember when we use the align with components, you did get a capture position, but you could just drag it off the screen, then you had to click the button to go back again, right? Where the joint actually has these different functions in it. Rigid means that everything is tied in, and you could do something like a slide where things are moving up and down. So if you had never seen the align command, I hope that this was maybe something new to kind of like think about, that the align command is in there and can be used. I think especially when it comes to like to body environment, that you can align things together. So I definitely want to send a thank you out to John for sending me that question via my email, that you will find down in the description area if you are interested in seeing any future topics here on the live stream. Let me just take a quick look inside of the chat here and see what we got. We got a hire in here. That is awesome. So one of the questions is, can you align assembly commands with imported STLs? Jonathan, that is an excellent question. Let's see. Let's see here. Do we have any? Whoop, look at this. We actually have. We do have a what looks like an STL file. So that gets brought in there. Now, of course, you get your move. Now you gotta. We got some size difference here, but you know this is You asked the question, Jonathan. So I'm just going to capture the position here. So let's see. So we are now in components, but let's try to go ahead here and see if we can align. It doesn't look like it because it is not a body, right? It is a mesh geometry. So you cannot do that. But I was talking about before, we got to talk about the move command. And the move command in here actually have some options. So in here, we should be able to, can we select the whole thing and then move it? So we selected the whole thing, right click, move. No, it will not let us do that, but we insert it. I just deleted that. So yeah, so I guess the answer is that from an aspect of the align command, no. That will only do bodies and components, and this here is mesh geometry. However, when you bring something in, you do get the move copy tool shows up at first here, and there is some options to move things. So you could go in and say from point to, well, maybe not. See, I mean, maybe should have played around with this a little bit. You know what? I don't have to play around with this. But don't forget, we also have the mesh workspace in here that maybe I turned off. Yeah. All right. You know what? That is going to be another live stream, folks. You can move it with a line tool, but the move copy, you should be able to move that mesh geometry over where you want it. That's another one. Cool. I probably just need to sit down, have a beer, and figure all that out. All right, we got some questions in regards to import STLs and convert them into BRAP. Yeah, then absolutely good comment, SkyDriver. If you import the STL and convert it into BRAP, then we can actually bring it into the sculpt area. Then we could actually turn it into a solid, and then we could definitely move it. All right, I had all right, one here. Paul put in here that he had a situation where he couldn't initially make a joint. I'm not sure why, but I could create an alignment and then create it as a build joint. All right, well, that's another thing. We should definitely talk about joints in a later one because there is this build joints, but I can't start that now because we're almost out of time. All right, you know what, guys? Awesome. This is one of the cool things about the live stream. I wish I could capture what's happening in the live stream, but YouTube don't let you do that. So if you're watching the recording, you don't get what is inside of the chat here, but you guys are awesome who are in there. Really appreciate you guys, helping each other out and answering questions and things. If you're watching the recording, if you have anything to add, definitely put it down in the comments area. I read them all. I can share that, and I try to answer as many as I can, and it just helps other people, but it's just awesome. So I'm going to end this live stream here. Tomorrow, I think we're going to talk about surfaces or we're going to talk about patterns. I haven't quite made up my mind about that yet. But it is tomorrow, same time. It is at noon Eastern. Yeah, so that is tomorrow's. And tomorrow we're also going to have what used to be called Flashy Wednesday, I think. We're going to rename that to Awesome Wednesday. I will share with you tomorrow a product or a person that I think you should follow or at least be familiar with on YouTube or somewhere else on platforms. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time. If you like these live streams, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, well, be honest. Put your thumbs down. That's all cool. So I'm going to end the broadcast and jump into the chat as I normally do. Guys, I hope that you have an awesome, awesome Tuesday, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.